Hello, my name is Kevin Anderson. I'm the editor of MDLF's Knowledge Bridge. And here we are at Media Forum 2012 in Jakarta, and joining me is the CEO of South Africa's Mailing Guardian, Hoosain Karijieker.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi. The Mailing Guardian, South Africa, is a fairly good way down the road in terms of digital transition. So how has the Mailing Guardian sort of rode the wave? That seems to be the analogy we're using here.
Yes.
Rode the wave of that transition in South
Yes.
Africa.
I think, Kevin, we had the benefit of being online at a very early age in our history, being the first online platform on the on the African continent many years ago, back in 1994, really helped us give us that base on which to grow. And when we acquired full control of the asset 4 years ago with the help of the MDLF, we then sort of undertook a big drive in order to improve the output that we give online. And then, so I think it was about 2 years ago, we realized that that revenues were beginning to migrate in significant proportion into the online environment, and we then undertook a digital first strategy in our organization, and everyone embraced it. So we didn't see this as being something that was really going to kill off the print environment, but we embraced it as being an important platform for us to be engaged with, for us to be present on, and for us to sort of develop business models around.
The point you made that digital first doesn't mean the death of print.
Yes.
I mean, that's something that a lot of people have talked about here
Yes.
at the forum.
Yes.
So when you make that digital first shift,
Yes.
from an editorial standpoint,
Yes.
how do you make sure that the platforms remain strong on their own, so
Yes.
that you're not creating, you're not sort of spreading yourself too thin,
Yes.
and that you're creating the proper content for those platforms?
Yeah, I think that initially when we sort of constituted this idea of having a digital first environment throughout the organization, there was a lot of resistance to it from your traditional print journalist who felt that he was employed purely for writing a weekly article that was going to be published in the Mailing Guardian. And in fact, a lot of people felt that having their byline in the Mailing Guardian was quite prestigious, you know, and quite a coup at the end of each week, and the stories weren't being spiked. And we then had to sort of undergo some change process and some training where we had journalists go through and accept and embrace the concept of having to write in for digital formats as well. And over the last, it's not been easy, you know. There has been resistance, but gradually people made the shift. And what we find right now is that people are quite eager to actually write, and we've got sort of an abundance of articles that we are able to put up online. And this whole fear of a story being spiked is no longer there, because if it doesn't make the weekly print edition, it makes the online edition. In fact, there have been instances where we've had to break news stories online as opposed to sort of waiting for the end of the week, which has not happened before, you know. So that type of change is happening throughout the organization, and hence we are able to present good quality content on the digital platform, and I think that's what's driving the growth in our audience that we're experiencing in the last few months now.
So you talked about that cultural issue, and in the opening of the forum, Registrar from Reuters was talking about the challenge of culture.
Yes.
What were some of the key messages when you were doing the training, but also you can give people skills, but it's not just skill set, it's mindset.
Yes.
What were some of those key messages that you used to sort of win over some of those skeptics in your print operation?
Look, I mean, I think that what helped was what was happening internationally around the world, what was happening in the States, what was happening in the UK at the Guardian, for example, kind of sort of reinforced the concept of going digital in the minds of all these journalists. And all these journalists sort of spend a lot of time interacting with colleagues overseas and internationally, and they could then sort of understand this was going to come. I think that what was important was when we then changed contracts of employment as well to sort of write into them the fact that they were going to be writing for digital as well. And also through the tough times throughout the organization, at one stage I think we were paying some members of staff an additional sort of fee for being able to write online. So it's not been an easy process, it's been very gradual, but you know, as years have progressed now, the last year or so, we've found that people are more readily embracing the environment. I mean, on the advertising sales side, for example, we're incentivizing the sales staff in a similar format that we're incentivizing the print sales staff when they sort of generate revenues for the online platform. So the whole issue of convergence, which used to be a sort of a bad word in the organization, initially has now sort of has become sort of quite a positive message flowing throughout the organization. And if you are able to articulate the vision and mission right at the top at a very early age, especially around issues like the digital first strategy, people sort of are willing to embrace a lot easier, whereas if it was not sort of articulated sort of so clearly, it probably would not be. Yeah.
Now, I think a lot of people see an opportunity in terms of reaching new audiences.
Yes.
So I mean, that opportunity is instantly, I think, obvious to a lot of journalists and editors and even publishers. What still remains less obvious is the commercial opportunity.
Yeah.
And you know, the old you know, in the States that we traded print dollars for digital dimes. So
Yeah.
you know that the revenue was much lower. But you talked about how you're working with advertisers, a bit of roadshow.
Yes.
But you had something slightly interesting about your roadshows, and that you didn't just take your advertising staff, you also
Yes.
took editorial staff.
Yes, I mean, we still do that. When we launch new sections in the paper, in print environment, and in online, we found it very useful to have the editors of the various divisions along with us, because they can sort of clearly sort of spell out and articulate the message and the manner in which, you know, we are going to be conveying or writing the editorial or the angles that we'll be coming in. And what we found is that advertisers actually want to engage with the editors, you know, whereas before there was this sort of Chinese wall between the advertising division and the editorial division for fear of it impacting on independence. I think we're beginning to break that down now, because editors themselves see the commercial sort of upside of being able to go out with the advertising salespeople on these road shows, and then you know, are able to meet and interact with the advertisers and can buy a lot of credibility with them in order to win them over and for them to be able to place the adverts within our various products and platforms.
And just briefly, we talked about cultural change. How did you, that Chinese wall you talked between advertising and editorial, you know, as a journalist,
Yes.
I mean, it's almost drilled into you.
Yeah.
How did you allay any concerns that the editorial staff might have that they could operate in this way,
Yes.
but not lose that sense of editorial independence?
Yes. Look, a lot of people still sort of frown on it, I think, throughout the organization, but I think we were able to convince them by virtue of the fact that whereas we're taking them out on a commercial sort of initiative, doesn't necessarily mean that they would have to write positively about this organization. I'll give an example. One of the big telecom operators in the country that actually sponsors one of the business sections in the paper and online, we wrote about them about 6 months ago about some trading they were doing in Iran and the sort of some flaws in the way they had configured some of the operations, and we were able to write that without sort of fear that we were going to be sort of victimized either by the advertiser or by anyone else from the organization. So yeah, we've been able to get the editorial people to understand the advantage of coming out with us and assisting us with the commercial side of the operation without compromising their editorial independence at all.
Hoosain, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
And this is just one of several videos we have on Knowledge Bridge about the Media Forum. If you want to check out the rest of them, it's on Knowledge Bridge at kbridge.org. Thank you very much.